Good day, my plant foldies. This is Richie at Growfolds, and today we'll be doing an unboxing of Aglaonema from Leafcrafter.ID. These are plants from overseas, specifically from Indonesia. As always, please make sure you're pressing the thumbs up or like button for this video, as well as give me a follow on Instagram at Growfolds. Today will be a very detailed process of the plants that I received from overseas. So Leafcrafter.ID is actually a nursery out in Indonesia, and you can see right over here, these are the Aglaonema that was sent and shown to me by Leafcrafter.ID. So here's the thing, plant foldies, I do a lot of unboxing videos from overseas, and one thing I wanted to put out there is you need to make sure that you are finding somebody that is trustworthy, reputable, and goes about the process correctly. So as you can see right here, these are the potential Aglaonema that I will be receiving. What I love, Leafcrafter.ID on Instagram, that is the Instagram handle, is that they are always showing me really cost-effective Aglaonema. I know exactly what plant I will be receiving, and so that's some of the tips that I'm going to be talking about in terms of whether, you know, getting plants from overseas is the right thing for you. Some people might just be more comfortable about getting plants that are in the domestic realm, but as you can see right here, these are my Aglaonema that I am going to be getting and unboxing today. These are the plants that were shown to me, videos that were shown to me by Leafcrafter.ID. Like I said again, I am just really happy that I found a very trustworthy seller from Indonesia. And what I love about it is I don't necessarily have to worry about getting an import license for this particular haul because they go through a broker. So there is a broker fee that that particular broker actually receives these plants in the US. The particular broker is plantstop.us. So in terms of getting these Aglaonema, it just makes it even more simplified. Now you will pay a little bit more in terms of the shipping and clearance through the broker, but that's really taken care of by Leafcrafter.ID. I love the fact that throughout this process, which basically took about a month to get all of these plants, I just love the fact that I was in constant communication with the seller, and in terms of all of these Aglaonema that I was able to choose and get a really good price, I love the fact that I knew exactly what I was getting for a good price. So you can see right here, a lot of people may not know the amount of work that's placed into getting plants from overseas. So a couple of things to keep in mind. Number one, you want to make sure that you have a seller that follows all of the regulations of a country in terms of getting plants from overseas. So in the United States, for instance, these plants have to have a phytosanitary certificate. They cannot be shipped with any speck of soil. So as you can see right here, these Aglaonema that I am going to be receiving, the seller is carefully removing all of the soil substrates, and then there's going to be a very rigorous process of making sure all of this is clean. They use certain things to make sure that there are no pests on these plants, and then the country actually has to do lab testing of these plants in order to receive a phytosanitary certificate. So it's not as easy as, okay, I'm going to go ahead and just order plants online and they're going to ship it. That is the reason why I want to put a little bit more detail in terms of the process of plants and what you get from overseas. So another thing that I want to keep in mind is for anybody that is actually into Aglaonemas or getting plants, know that these Aglaonemas will not be something you will find commonly in the United States, which is where I am based at. You will typically not see these very colorful and beautiful Aglaonema, and that is why I resort to getting plants from overseas. I definitely do my research on that. I do have my own import license, but again, there is a difference between importing plants yourself directly and then getting plants from a broker that basically imports the plants and then is able to sell and ship it to you, if that makes any sense. So I don't really want to go into the whole logistics of it, but like I said again, I'm just really happy that they were able to get these plants to me in a timely manner. And you know, for tips for getting plants from overseas, what I would say is make sure that you know the seller's reputation in terms of the actual reviews. So for instance, I've gotten plants from Greenspaces.ID Greenspaces.ID, which is another major seller from Indonesia that sends plants to the United States and all over the world. You want to make sure that you're looking at reviews. You want to make sure that the people that are reviewing are just not dummy accounts that people have created to boost reviews. You really want to vet out that seller. For me, I have dealt with this seller for quite a while, and so recommendations from friends, actually talking to people who have gotten plants from overseas and really seeing it. But as you can see right there, all of the soil substrate has been removed. These plants went through a rigorous process of getting clean, and yes, you probably think I'm crazy, but yes, all of those plants are going to be shipped to me alongside with a friend. So we split the cost in terms of just getting all of these plants. Now you can see that the care that is placed into packing the plant is really meticulous. You can see that this is an Aglaonema Hello Kitty. It is one that is quite expensive. I know that if you were to buy this fully acclimated in the United States, it would cost close to $90 to $100. But that is another reason why sometimes getting plants from overseas can be more cost effective, depending on your seller. Now, if you are buying multiple plants or more plants, I believe you end up getting a bigger discount. That's really how the overseas sellers work. Other tips I would also say is you need to make sure that your seller has constant communication, meaning that they are able to send you pictures of the plants. They have multiple followers, not just from just their home country, but also maybe from people that have bought plants from them. So whenever I look at people that want to sell me plants from overseas, I always vet out the actual shop, whether it's looking at their Instagram profiles, and that's just with anything in general. So for instance, if you look at an Instagram profile and it was just recently created and they're trying to sell you plants, that's probably not a good idea. Typically social media will let you know whether that profile is created just newly. So you really want to see some longevity for the seller. Now, I understand that some sellers may have just started a business, but for me, I like to go with a word of caution. Again, there is always going to be a risk from getting plants from overseas, whether it's the seller either sending you the plants in general. So for me, whenever you are making payments to a overseas seller, you need to make sure that it is a secured payment. And for instance, PayPal is a really good way. So in case there is something that happens where maybe the seller doesn't send you plants, you can dispute it. I would never ever give bank information or anything directly to the overseas seller or just anybody online. It's common sense where if they're asking for personal information, I would definitely not recommend it. I would always use a third-party type method of payment where you're either going through like PayPal. That's really one of the methods where you can secure a very secure way of paying the seller. So those are just some of the tips. I know that a lot of our plant foldies, and for those that are new to the channel, I call my viewers and subscribers plant foldies. Welcome. This is not your typical big box or plant shopping video, so I'm not 100% sure whether this video will be pushed out, but I would hope you guys would give me a chance to at least show you the process of getting these plants. So as you can see right here, my friend is really taking a lot of time in terms of packing and shipping the plants. He has followed all the regulations in terms of making sure that there is a phytosanitary certificate and that it is able to go through the broker, which is based out in New Jersey, I believe. And we were able to get these plants safely and securely to our doorstep. But I love the fact that my seller here, he is a good friend of mine. We basically message and talk to each other every day, and that's the reason why, again, it doesn't help that I do have a plant addiction and I just love Aglaonemas. But you know, how do you refrain from purchasing beautiful plants, especially when you are getting really good plant pricing from it? The only downside of getting plants from overseas is, again, you could see that a lot of the plants I showed you earlier were in perfect condition. condition. Know that these plants are traveling at least 10,000 miles from Indonesia to North Dallas, and that's also making a stop somewhere else through the broker that actually gets them imported before they are shipped out and cleared to go to your home. So for me, you have to have realistic expectations. I know that the Aglaonema, the beautiful leaves, the fullness of the plant may not necessarily make it to me in that condition. You have to just make sure that the root systems are really good. And, as far as the foliage, yes, you might lose a couple of leaves here and there. You may lose a bunch of leaves, but there is an acclimation period. So again, for those that are into possibly collecting more rare and uncommon plants, getting plants from overseas is, a very, I would say, adventurous thing to do, but it's not for everybody. So I wouldn't necessarily say, hey, all of the plant foldies need to try to get plants from overseas. You can see right over here, I just recently got this box. And so we're going to start doing the unboxing right over here. I'm super excited. I ended up getting this box right after I got home from work. So travel time, it took about 6 days from when it was shipped from overseas to get the broker to clear it, and then for it to get shipped USPS. And what was really nerve-wracking for me is with North Dallas having the 95 plus, almost close to 100-degree weather, what I was most concerned about is these plants actually melting, and just because of the heat. And so that's another thing I want to put out there. Plant foldies, if you intend to get plants from overseas, you want to make sure that you're timing it when the weather is a little bit more optimal. So truthfully, I wouldn't necessarily recommend getting plants from overseas, especially if you live in environments where it's summertime and it's 100+ degree weather. That is a huge risk. But you can see right here, this first Aglaonema right here, it came out pretty good. As you can see, it's highly variegated. This is more of the Aglaonema. I think it's the variegated simplex or something of that nature. It's like a pictum type Aglaonema. So you'll notice that it is a little bit more leggy. It's a little bit taller versus clumping. You'll also notice that Leafcrafter.ID. And again, if you're interested in purchasing plants from Leafcrafter.ID, definitely follow him on Instagram. You can send him a direct message. He has a WhatsApp to where you can directly send him messages, and he is so fast at responding. So that's another thing I appreciate from him. He has really good English, so you don't have to worry about a language barrier. So those are other things I wanted to do. I really am excited to showcase Leafcrafter.ID because not a lot of people may know about Leafcrafter, but he is amazing, and I just love the communication I've had with him. I think that that's the reason why I was confident in putting on a huge order. So when you talk about me going to big box stores, me trying to make a little bit of passive income, just know that your viewership, your super stickers and super thanks, which are monetary tips that you can give a YouTube content creator, do help fund some of these projects and some of these plant shopping hauls. You can see right here, this is an Aglaonema Sweet Dream, and you'll notice how it is only in sphagnum, and I gave him a little bit of a suggestion that paper would be better in terms of just packing the plant, in terms of not wrapping it with like cellophane, because I feel like with the hot weather, it would have kind of baked it or insulated the plant. So you'll notice right off the bat, whenever I'm unboxing this video, I'm going to try to show you. So there are some yellowing leaves. There are a few of those. You'll see that there are a couple of yellowing leaves. That is perfectly normal. So if you are not patient and understand that whenever you're getting plants from overseas, they're going to have to acclimate for a good 2 to 3 months to really see whether, number one, they're going to make it in your environment, and then number two, to really see the plant recover, because you have to think, right? These plants are coming in from another part of the world where they have ideal conditions, where they're growing outdoors in a tropical, humid, bright environment. And when you think about it, going to my environment, which is North Dallas, you have a super hot environment. I don't think I can necessarily just keep them outside, although I am debating on whether I should just grow all of these plants outside, let them acclimate in a shaded area, because I always think that whenever I have plants that are struggling, taking them outdoors in a shaded area, they tend to just do better. So we'll see what that looks like. But the important thing is, as you can see right here, this one has a pretty decent root system. Is it ideal? Not necessarily, because there's not quite a bit of root. So this one is going to be a little bit questionable on whether I'm going to put it in a soil substrate. You'll see the process. And if you've been following my YouTube channel, I would hope, number one, you have pressed the subscribe button with all the notification bell on. And then number two, just know that I have a playlist where I do several unboxings of Aglaonema from overseas. Now, this is a different plant. It's not an Aglaonema, but when I say that I had to get a variegated palm, know that this particular variegated palm would cost more than $100. I definitely did not pay that price. Let's just say I even paid such a small fraction of a cost that it would cost in the United States. So I'm super excited. Again, thank you to Leafcrafter for really giving me premium, cost-effective plant pricing. You can see I cut off one of the dead leaves, and that's really the unboxing process here. Is you have to be really careful about how you unbox these plants. You also have to just examine the root system. So you can see that the sphagnum moss is slightly moist, but not drenched. So that's another thing. If your seller is not a experienced seller, some people feel like you have to drench the roots. You really don't want to. I prefer my plants to be slightly more so on the drier side, especially Aglaonema, because when you think about their root systems are a little bit thicker. So if you're going to put them in a very moist environment, and then on top of that travel through really warm weather, that is a recipe for disaster in terms of the roots just kind of melting and rotting away because of that baking process. So that's just some of my insights. Again, I'm going to be very talkative throughout this video. So this isn't a variegated Aglaonema bicolor, and I have to say, if you were to buy even a baby one of this particular variegated Aglaonema, it would cost you about $300. So for me, the fact that Leafcrafter gave me a bonus plant as a token of his appreciation, I have to say thank you so much to my friend. I did not expect this. I did not ask for this. He is not sponsoring me about this video. I am simply giving you guys my honest review and honest opinion about his plants. I am excited so far of what I've seen, and today's video is going to be a little bit long playing. So you'll notice that this one is wrapped in a little bit of a dome. So whenever you're getting smaller plants like this, the dome process is a little bit easier. They're a little bit more protected. And then for those that are not into Aglaonema, just know that actually Leafcrafter.ID specializes in, you guessed it, variegated anthuriums. And I know some people will say variegated anthuriums look a little odd. I just truly believe the US market hasn't seen mature versions for them to really just be all about it. But just know, with anthuriums being a trending plant already, I could already tell you that if you want to get a hold of very cost-effective anthuriums, I would definitely contact Leafcrafter.ID. Like I said, again, follow him on Instagram. He has several US followers. He's already shipped to multiple people in the United States. And I basically keep in touch with him every day. We talk about plants, and he tempts me by, every morning. I wake up at 7 o'clock in the morning. That's 8 p.m. Indonesian time. And he has all of these videos of very cost-effective Aglaonema. I can't really give you the pricing. You'll just need to go ahead and message him if you are interested. I would also say, in terms of getting plants, just know the turnaround or process for getting the plants is about a month. it doesn't mean that these plants are in the mail for a month. It literally takes about 7 days from when the plants leave, and they go through an air cargo process. So it takes about 2 days to get to the broker, and then the broker has to just make sure that all of the documents, phytosanitaries, whatever they have to do clears, and then it typically takes, you know, a day or two. Now, I know this particular broker will do 2-day or overnight shipping to make sure that the plants are received from you. So I know I've been doing a lot of talking. I am feeling a little bit chatty, but you can see right here, this Aglaonema has actually traveled fairly well. And again, these plants traveled 10,000 miles to get to my doorstep. There was a lot involved in it. And, you know, as far as the plants in general, you know, Aglaonemas take a while to grow. They're slower growing plants. I truly believe that the reason why they're not as popular in the US market is because we don't get to see all of the beautiful different varieties. As far as easy care plants, they are easy care plants, especially the more greener versions. I think that kind of coincides with a lot of plants in general. The more chlorophyll they have, they're just a little bit more stable. But things to notice about Aglaonemas. Aglaonemas do not like to be wet on top of their leaves. You really don't want like sitting water on top of their leaves. You want to put them in soil that is a little bit more chunky, fast draining, etc., etc. And, you know, for me, like I said before, Classy Rabbit Soil, that is a local small business out in McKinney, Texas. I would highly recommend going to classyrabbit.com. That is a soil substrate I will be doing in a separate video when I pot these up. But in terms of just the unboxing, I did want to just talk you through the unboxing. So what you need to do when you get your plants from home is like this one right here. I'm already seeing that there is a leaf or two that may have just died off. I don't typically panic about that. Some people are not used to that. But, you know, for me, the purpose of this video is number one, to educate you on the process of getting plants from overseas. Number two, to set realistic expectations about the plant. And number three, to give you tips on how to acclimate the plant. So like, obviously, you know how I've seen some content creators on YouTube get plants and do reviews, for instance, for Greenspaces.ID, where they unbox it and then that same day they pot it up in a soil substrate. That makes me kind of cringe because that's not really good for the plant. These plants are super stressed. And you think about why they are super stressed. They were taken from maybe a soil substrate where they were growing their best life and just living their best life, and then having to go through a rigorous process where it's drying, cleaning, and then being wrapped in a sphagnum moss, traveling in a dark box, and then moving from one environment to another. So of course, you're going to have a couple of yellowing leaves here and there, or lots of yellowing leaves. And I want to normalize that. That is really something that happens with getting plants from overseas. And that's a reason why if you ever do find like rare or uncommon Aglaonema, variegated monsteras, or different types of uncommon aroids that are already acclimated, you're paying the premium price because typically that wholesale nursery has already imported the plants or gotten the plants and have grown them to where they're acclimated and established. Now, this particular Aglaonema, this is the Aglaonema Silver Curly. This one is one that I've been eyeing for quite a while. And if you ever look at how much it costs from like sellers on Etsy, and that's another thing, I have kind of stopped looking at Etsy because in terms of the processes, you really have to make sure you vet out the overseas seller. You want to make sure that, at least for me and probably the general public, you probably want to go through a seller that goes through a broker. You know, importing plants, some people might do it using their import license, but there's a lot more to it than just getting an import license. I did it once and it was just very tedious versus paying a little bit more through the seller that can go through a broker that can get these plants. So again, I want to repeat myself and just let you know that that's the process that I'm going through. I know that if you were to buy plants from a more established seller, such as Greenspaces.ID, for instance, they go through what they call plantstop.us. There is another air cargo service. My good friend from Indonesia, his name is Riki, Art Garden Flowers, where he's able to do his air cargo process where he goes through a broker and is able to get plants from Indonesia to the United States. So as you can see right here, this is one of my favorite Aglaonemas, and you'll see that I've taken some time to show the roots. So you can see that the roots are good. These are a little bit more on the drier sides. What you want to see is roots that are not mushy, and you don't want to see any, smell any rot. And so far the plants have done very well. If you see any like leaves that are brown or kind of mushy, you want to make sure that you are removing those leaves immediately. And then I will also show you the process of me just kind of disinfecting and cleaning the plants. Again, these Aglaonema have already gone through a rigorous process of being sure that they're pest-free. They go through some type of solution where it gets rid of all of the pests. Otherwise, they're not going to be able to get a phytosanitary. However, even mold and, browning leaves, you want to just get rid of that because it does not help the plant. You have to think that a lot of these plants are very susceptible to plant pests. Whenever a plant is actually stressed, it kind of releases those pheromones where they're just a little bit more susceptible for plant pests to get to them. So you want to just get rid of any traces of dead leaves and things of that nature. So you'll see that that one leaf that's yellow, I'm going to pull it off. Sometimes I'll leave a couple of the yellow leaves just because I don't want to like defoliate the entire plant. But the most important thing is to look at the roots. So as you can see right here, Leafcrafter has done an amazing job. Earlier in the video, you can see how tedious the process is. So for anybody that's complaining that, getting plants from overseas could be kind of expensive, I would say think of it this way. At least for me in the United States, we have a lot of opportunities where we can really make income. It's not always the case in places from overseas. So yes, I would like to support these passionate, and they call them farmers in Indonesia, where they have beautiful ornamental plants. They take the time to grow these plants. It takes a while to grow these plants. And so as long as these plants can make it to me in decent health, I am all for it. So let me know in the comment section, plant foldies, what you think. And if you made it this far into the video, please make sure you are pressing the thumbs up or like button for this video. It definitely helps push this content out to more plant lovers like yourself. These are the type of videos that while they're not as popular, I'm not even sure if I'm going to get as many views. These are the types of videos I like to share because it gives our viewers or anybody that loves plants a little bit more insight on the overseas process. So for now, I'm just going to continue to unbox these plants. You will see me show the leaves, and you can see this one right here, unfortunately, is probably the one plant that's not healthy or not as healthy. You can see that there's a lot of yellowing leaves, and this was that Aglaonema Hello Kitty. So this one is definitely going to need a little bit more time to rehab. So what I'm going to have to do is, while I typically keep my overseas plants in a nutrient solution water for about 72 hours, I may need to do a little bit longer for the roots to really hydrate and maybe even see some more new root growth, just depending on what the roots look like. But that's expected. And for me, somebody that's gotten plants from overseas multiple times in the past through a broker, it is one of those things where it is expected. So I'm just going to remove a couple of the yellow leaves so that way the plant doesn't have to put energy in those leaves that are not really serving any purpose. And it hopefully, number one, you want to make sure that these plants are actually establishing their root system. So that one isn't the best in health, but I think that it's still going to make it. It's just going to need a little bit more tender love and care. So let's just continue to unbox these plants. Like I said, again, plant foldies or anybody that is interested in getting plants from Leafcrafter.ID, leave a comment in the comment section. Definitely follow him on Instagram. Send me a direct message and I can introduce you to Leafcrafter.ID, and we can go from there. Now, I know for those that are going to PlantCon in Dallas 2025, you can get a pickup of these plants. I think Leafcrafter can send it through plantstop.us, and you're able to just pick it up at the plant convention or the plant show, which might be a little bit easier for some people. So that is an option. Just know that you need to do that in advance and coordinate that. But you can see right over here, this Aglaonema, what you want to do is just remove some of the dead leaves. But this one is going to work out for me. Love the stem. stems. And, feel free to let me know in the comment section what you need. Like I said, again, I saw all of these beautiful plants. He sent me the same videos, and I just want to make sure that everybody's mind is refrained from knowing that if you think you're going to get a perfect plant like the ones that you saw earlier in this video, then maybe getting plants from overseas may not necessarily be your niche, because these plants, as much as they could potentially be as close to perfect as possible, they're going to have a little bit of cosmetic damage. You're going to have to wait weeks for them to really rehab and acclimate. That's just part of the process, and that's something I had to learn, because when I first got plants from overseas, I had a really good interactions and amazing service, and even gotten some plants that were really healthy. However, there are even times where whenever you receive plants from overseas where they come in super healthy, but they may decline in health because, again, they are acclimating. Hopefully that makes sense, plant foldies, and hopefully you guys are enjoying some of my commentary and really trying to get you guys some more facts and education revolving around my experience with overseas plants, especially Aglaonema, because you already know, if you are a plant foldie, we want to try to hashtag popularize Aglaonema. And I already know that a plant foldie by the name of Michael, he's also getting plants from overseas from a couple of sellers. So this is the one Aglaonema that I really wish would have came in better condition. And this is an Aglaonema gianti. I think that's how you pronounce it. This is a Greg Hambali Aglaonema. And if you saw earlier in the video, it was a little bit more lush. This one took a little bit more cosmetic damage. So I'm going to talk through what I would do if I receive a plant that's not as healthy, especially from overseas. Number one, I want to make sure and look at the root system. So we're going to take a look at the root system. It looks like the root system is okay. It's actually, the roots are actually a lot drier, and so it's not mushy. I'm going to try to remove some of the dark spots there, maybe some of this, the die off on the leaves. So this one is definitely going to need to be in water for a little bit. And then if I put it in a soil substrate, I'm going to have to watch it closely. But this is one of the more rare Aglaonemas. It's basically almost like an Aglaonema red Siam with red striping, which makes it beautiful. Now this one right here is a Donna Carmen Aglaonema. So I already have one that I got from Leafcrafter, but I couldn't resist getting a second one because he got me such a good price. Now imagine trying to get this Aglaonema, right? From the US, from a US seller. This Aglaonema would cost you more than $100. This did not cost me $100. By far, it was such a good price that I could not resist it. So, as far as the Donna Carmen Aglaonema, I think there's about 2 to 3 leaves that I'm just going to remove from here. But for a plant that's a little bit more uncommon, the more fancy varieties of Aglaonema, sometimes they just don't travel well. They're a little bit weaker, less resilient than maybe the green varieties or the largely formed varieties. But this one I can work with, and I'm excited that I'm going to be getting another one. So the timetable for some of these Aglaonema, once I'm done rehydrating them, and that's another important thing, once you unbox them, once you clean them up, and I would suggest still using a neem oil spray to clean up the roots and the plant to give it a protective barrier, you want to keep them in a nutrient solution, which I will show you how I mix mine later on to this video, and let them rehydrate. It's just very important. A key component or nutrient that I use is called Super Thrive. That B vitamin really helps recover the plant. So you can see right here, beautiful Aglaonema, Donna Carmen, and I'm going to just keep flashing the Aglaonema names in case you are interested. So let me go ahead and just keep unboxing the Aglaonema. Hopefully you guys will watch till the very end and you can see how they look from start to finish, and I'll give you some more of my tips. See, plant foldies, that I am careful about just unboxing the plant. One thing I also do is, as I unbox the plant, and you didn't see this during the video, but I will also clean my surface. I use cleaning Clorox wipes just to keep things sanitary. And you can see right here, this is an Aglaonema red emerald. I really like this plant. It looks like there are some leaves that need to be removed, but this is one of the more rare and uncommon Aglaonema. Really love that reddish tone about it. And this is one that I've been eyeing for a while. I've been seeing the pricing from some of the sellers in the US that are fully acclimated, and it is just super expensive. So to get one of these, you know, it's not necessarily guaranteed that it may make it in my care, but hopefully if I'm able to acclimate and establish it, it's just going to take maybe, you know, 2 to 3 months to really see what that looks like. I'll be super excited. And, you know, as far as this red over here, you can see that the roots are still really viable, really bright, very thick white roots. So that's good. I'm just going to remove a couple of the leaves right here and just leave the ones that are healthy. But again, it's one of those situations where I want to assess the roots and just make sure that I'm also looking at the plant, because once I'm done unboxing, you know, the next step would be for me to spray it down with a neem oil spray, which basically I make using hydrogen peroxide, neem oil spray, and rubbing alcohol. I put that all in a solution with water, shake, 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 and spray them down, because it not only will clean up any potential mold or anything of that nature, but just making sure that my plants are also protected with a coat that will prevent any plant pests as they are acclimating. So feel free, again, plant foldies, to let me know what you think of these Aglaonema. This is probably the biggest Aglaonema haul I've gotten as of late. It just seems like I'm just getting more and more Aglaonema, and so it's pushing my house plant tour further back. I would just basically say I am a plant hoarder at this point, and I'm okay with that. You know, that is the reason why, for me, having this social media platform where I can be my most authentic self, I don't mind, you know, really letting you know how I feel, how I am, and not being apologetic for being who I am. You know, I may not be everybody's cup of tea, but I would rather live my life to the point where I can be my most authentic self, where I don't have to like really adjust who I am to please people. Because like I said, with plants, not everybody has to like Aglaonemas, but for me, I just love them. I think they're the best thing in the world in terms of plants. And I mean, you can even see right here, look at this. There are 2 Aglaonema in this haul right here, and I'm just gonna have to get rid of some of these leaves. So kudos again to Leafcrafter for sourcing out some really nice Aglaonema for me. Super excited about that. And you know, in terms of the health of the plants, yes, there are some dead leaves, but for the most part, they are packed very well and they look really healthy. So you can see these roots right over here, really good, super dehydrated. So we just have to rehydrate the plant. So let's continue to unbox with me, and hopefully, plant foldies, you guys are also enjoying the relaxing ASMR sounds of this video. The Aglaonema rinjani golden, so it's one of my jumbo Aglaonema. You'll notice that there are some leaves that did not make it. So what I do with these browning leaves is just to make sure that I remove it from the plant. And obviously the next step would be just to make sure that I spray them down with like hydrogen peroxide, neem oil, to make sure that none of that brown stuff actually gets onto the healthy leaves. You really want to make sure that your plants are clean. But in terms of that, you'll see that I got rid of the brown dead leaves, and you can see that it's still a beautiful jumbo Aglaonema. And so let's just go ahead and check the root system to see if the roots are good. So far, all of the roots, except for maybe a couple, have really extensive root systems that I really believe will acclimate in my environment. I would say I wouldn't know if these plants are fully acclimated for at least 90 days. So about 3 months is when you'll really know if they're going to make it in your care. And that's why, you know, in terms of overseas plants, it is a labor of love. It is also patience. And some of it is just pure luck too. So I don't want anybody to be discouraged if you do try getting plants from overseas and they don't make it in your care. Sometimes it just does not work out. But I'm hoping that through this video, I'll be able to give you some tips on what to expect and also how to increase the chances of survival for your plants that you receive from overseas. But this is another beautiful jumbo Aglaonema from Leafcrafter.ID. most of the Aglaonema I've seen have done fairly well, but you can see this is an example of an Aglaonema that has some brown melting leaves. That is that disease that you need to make sure you get off of your Aglaonema. So like number one, there's some of that brown stuff that got onto the leaf. Anything that has brown, either you need to remove it, or what I'm going to do is actually just take a Clorox wipe. I know that sounds crazy, to wipe it off and make sure that that plant is cleaned up. So I'm going to spend a little bit more time cleaning this particular Aglaonema because I don't want that brown stuff to kind of spread. That's the thing about Aglaonemas, is they are susceptible to that melting brown leaf. I'm not sure what you call it, but either it could be infrequent watering or too much watering, but that's what helps cause that is by those types of factors and just stress on the plant. So Aglaonemas are known for that. That's one of the diseases that Aglaonema get. That's one thing that I have learned about Aglaonemas over the years, and that's why I want to make sure that I give people tips on care tips for Aglaonema. So this particular one right here had some of that brown stuff, so I went ahead and made sure to wipe it off. And obviously I'm going to go ahead and clean this again, spray it down with hydrogen peroxide and neem oil. And you can see one leaf, I went ahead and just cut off that whole section where it was actually browning. But in terms of the roots are fairly well. So that's just an example again of what you need to do when you get a plant that may not necessarily be as healthy. And with the Aglaonema super white, even though I already have one, I was hoping to get a larger one, but you can see right here, let's see. So there are some leaves that we need to remove. So that one is already dried and dead. And then there's going to be a couple of them. So there is some yellowing on the leaves. I would say the lighter versions of Aglaonema, like the super white or the really highly variegated pink ones, tend to not travel as well. They tend to not be as resilient. So for me, this one actually has green stems, so it's going to bounce back. It's just going to take a little while. So you can see I'm just removing the leaves from it. And again, plant foldies, I want to normalize this because that is part of the process. Let me remind you, these plants went through a rigorous process to travel. And so if you are more than, it's okay to not want to get plants from overseas. Getting plants from overseas is a tedious process. It is not for everybody. At this point, you could just probably live vicariously through my Aglaonema collection, because at this point, I definitely have more than 100 plus. I'm not going to confirm the amount of Aglaonema. That is going to be actually confirmed in future membership only YouTube videos. So again, I wanted to go ahead and plug out my YouTube membership tier. So for just $2.99, you can become a super plant foldie, where you're going to get some perks. Some of the perks are going to be more access to my personal lifestyle blogs, my personal plants, life updates, more content about Catriona and Charlotte, my baby chickens that I've been raising, and they're just growing so fast. Also membership, custom emojis. So you'll notice next to your name, if you're going through a live premiere chat, you'll have an Aglaonema icon, but you can use custom emojis like Charlotte or Catriona emojis, and I'm going to keep making those. If anything, just by joining the YouTube membership tier, that really shows a huge amount of appreciation, because it does make this YouTube channel of mine a little bit more sustainable in terms of just the amount of effort and time I put into place. I would say I give about 4 hours of my time a day daily to create content. And so that little passive income does help kind of just reimburse the amount of time I put in there. But again, plant foldies, don't feel obligated. I always just like to tell you the why behind an action that I do for the channel. And the YouTube membership tier, it's a lot of fun as well. And it's just one way to really show support for a content creator like myself. Again, plant foldies, let me know. Or if you have any insights on the way I am going about unboxing, let me know as well. And for the super plant foldies or plant foldies that have already gotten plants from overseas, let me know how your plants are doing. Let me know in the comment section what your experience was. I'm always curious to see what everybody's experience is. I wouldn't necessarily say that every plant that you get from overseas is going to be the best process, but just know that if you find a reputable, great seller that you can trust and you're able to get premium pricing, I think that really mitigates the potential risk of plants that are either going to go to plant heaven, or you may not just get plants that are super healthy. But this one right here, this one is a really good example of a healthy Aglaonema that traveled 10,000 miles to get to North Dallas. I am just still surprised that we are able to get plants like this. And, you know, for me, just for a little, you know, I guess notoriety for me, it's the fact that I have plants that not many people can say they have. Like, I wouldn't even say that a lot of people in the DFW market will even have these plants available in their plant collection. Well, number one is because probably most people don't collect Aglaonema, but number two, even if you are an Aglaonema collector, it would be hard pressed to find a lot of these rare and uncommon Aglaonemas unless you're getting them from overseas. So this is the white Widuri. So there is a Widuri series where they have the white one, the red one, and the orange one, and I ended up getting all three. What I like about this particular Aglaonema is it has larger, rounder leaves and just beautiful coloration. So we're gonna see what it looks like. So you can see right off the bat there is a little bit yellowing of the leaves. A lot of times you'll see yellowing of the leaves because of the amount of stress that the plant has gone through. And for me, I still am gonna remove quite a bit of the yellow leaves and then obviously monitor and rehydrate this plant and assess whether I'm gonna put it in a soil substrate or make sure that the roots are stable. That's the important part and the most critical part about getting plants from overseas. Sometimes you have to end up just repropagating it and water propagating it again in order for it to really have a fighting chance of acclimating into your space. So I've had to do that, and you know, I've had really good results with it. And for those that have asked me about my Aglaonema that I've done unboxings on, they're still doing very well. Some of them may have declined in health, some of them have gone to plant heaven, and that's just a process about getting these plants. I know that I've repeated myself multiple times, but it's really interesting some of the direct messages I get from certain people, because I never want to mislead anybody into thinking that you will get perfect plants from overseas. More so, I want to just make sure the content of these types of unboxing videos is really to be more educational, to give you my honest review and what I go about. You know, my system of acclimating Aglaonema, for instance, or just overseas plants might be a little bit different from others. And that's the reason why there are several content creators on YouTube that you can reference. But just know that this has been something I've been doing for quite a while, and I've gotten a lot of good success for it. And you know, what a beautiful Aglaonema it is. And you can see this one right here is that Aglaonema frozen white. So Aglaonema frozen white, this one was a fairly large Aglaonema, and you know, as far as getting the jumbo versions, it's always exciting when you find a overseas seller like Leafcrafter.ID that can get you really large Aglaonema. You can see right here, it's going to take a while for this plant to like kind of unfurl and flatten out, or unflatten, but you can see, look at that beautiful, beautiful coloration on these leaves. That's just so stunning. And yes, there is a little bit of yellowing on the leaves, which I will remove, but as long as the roots are healthy, then this is one that I'm super excited about. This is one that I believe I can go ahead and put into a soil substrate. The greener varieties of Aglaonema are a little bit more hardy and resilient as compared to the more colorful ones, especially the ones that have like a lot of orange, pink, white, just a lot of color. Those tend to be a little bit more finicky as compared to the green varieties. And I would say the green Aglaonema tend to have larger leaves as well. They're a little bit bigger leaf size. So you can see right here, let's take a look and see what the roots look like. And the roots look to be super healthy. I can already feel that they're super thick and they almost feel like noodles. So whenever you touch Aglaonema roots, you want the roots to feel more like, if you've ever had ramen, like a block of ramen, to be a little bit not as like thick or hard, but somewhere around that range. You don't want it to be mushy, because then that's when you know that the roots are just gonna go end up being root rot. So really good that this one actually did really well. I love the white stems, and this is another unique Aglaonema for my collection. So plant foldies, let me know in the comment section what you think, and please make sure you're pressing the thumbs up or like button for this video. If you are interested in getting plants, again, please make sure you you are following Leafcrafter.ID on Instagram, you'll see me following him. You'll know that that's the correct Instagram, and feel free to send a direct message. Like I said again, he is very quick and responding for any questions. So I love that. So let's continue to keep unboxing. I have quite a bit of plans, so hopefully you guys will stay engaged and watch till the very end to see what plants I end up getting, like this Aglaonema Charlie Brown, which is almost like a jumbo Aglaonema red suxum, but this is called Aglaonema Charlie Brown. So we'll see what this plant looks like. It looks like it's fairly healthy. The red varieties tend to be a little bit more finicky, but overall, what a beautiful red jumbo Aglaonema. That is stunning. There's just like a leaf or two that I'm going to remove, but overall, I'm really satisfied with this particular Aglaonema. Jumbo Aglaonema like this, it's always great to see a pretty established root system. This one has more thicker roots versus a small fine roots, so I have to be a little bit careful when I'm potting this up. I'm really thinking that I'm probably going to grow this out in my back outdoor patio in a shaded area to see if it'll acclimate better versus growing them indoors. So we'll see what that looks like once I pot these plants up. I love that I can get jumbo Aglaonema. You know, the rounder, large leaf Aglaonema with the bright colors are just stunning. This one is Aglaonema Green Mama, and I got such a good price for this Aglaonema. And that's the reason why I really do think that if you are interested in getting plants from overseas, definitely connect with Leafcrafter.ID on Instagram. Send him a direct message. Again, you can send me a message and I can introduce you to him. He makes the ordering process super easy. And again, you will be able to see the Aglaonema that you will be receiving before you even put in an order. So Aglaonema Green Mama, this one is a nice one. You can see that it's got that red veining in the middle. Really like the variety that I've gotten today in terms of this plant haul. Hopefully you're enjoying my unboxing video, and then I'm going to move on to the next steps once I get through all of the Aglaonema. So you can see that I've got quite a bit of Aglaonema in this plant haul. It is the most Aglaonema I've received in a long time, and so I'm just really excited this is one of the more uncommon Aglaonema that I wanted. This Aglaonema is also known as sea foam in the US, and it's quite expensive if you buy from a US seller. I got a really large variety one right here. It's also called Aglaonema Donatello, and you can see, look at that beautiful round sea foam type coloration on the leaves. Now this one had a couple of browning leaves and some mushy leaves, so I had to make sure to remove it. And this is another plant, like for instance, that stem right here is a little bit mushy, so that's going to have to be removed. And I'm definitely going to have to make sure that this one is cleaned up. And you know, another way to make sure that these plants are cleaned up, especially when you have some type of rot like that, is making sure you're using a spray solution that has hydrogen peroxide. It is an antibacterial type solution alongside with neem oil and rubbing alcohol. So that's just kind of what I do with my plants. But as far as the roots are still intact. So I'm not as concerned with this plant. It just had some leaves that were just not doing as well. But overall, this one should bounce back fairly easily. And I'm really happy that I got another uncommon, beautiful green version of an Aglaonema. I love the rounder leaves, and it's got a really nice foam, sea foam type variegation on it. So just removing some of the dead leaves right over here, and let's continue to unbox. You can see this is a beautiful Aglaonema Cochin Sutra, and I love the fact that it's got a pastel pink, almost peach tone to it. There was one leaf that had a little bit of a brown melty spot, so I went ahead and chopped it off immediately, so that way it doesn't spread onto the other leaves. In terms of this Aglaonema, of this haul, it's probably in my top 3 favorites of this particular unboxing because it's got a really unique look or color to it. It definitely stands out amongst all of the other Aglaonemas, where some people will say most Aglaonemas kind of look alike, but this one definitely stands out. I love the peach tone on it. It's a very just a very elegant looking plant, and I'm glad that it's part of my collection, and it's a jumbo variety as well. It would take a long time to grow one of these plants, and I'm just glad that I was able to get one, and hopefully I can get this to acclimate and continue to grow for me. The Aglaonema Pink Gold was actually one of the more jumbo versions of Aglaonema. You can see that there are some leaves that did not make it. I went ahead and just peeled off the brown leaves that did not make it. And there's a couple more leaves that are probably not going to make it. So this one got a little bit leggy. So when I do pot this Aglaonema Pink Gold, it looks like there are 2 plants in one. I'm going to pot it further down into the pot, and we'll see what that looks like in terms of the acclimation. Like I said, again, not all of the plants that you receive from overseas will be perfect. The biggest tip I would just say is patience and just having those realistic expectations, you know, especially if you are getting plants for a very budget-friendly, cost-effective price. There is a price to pay for that. Sometimes your plants are not going to make it, but in terms of the care and effort that my seller did, I have to commend him for really just taking the time to grow these plants out, source these plants out, make sure that these plants are pest free, pack them carefully and ship them. There's just a lot that goes with it. So this one right here is the Aglaonema Pink Gold. I am still pretty happy with this one, considering that it did lose a lot of the bottom leaves, but I just look at that. Look at the beautiful colors it has. It's got a neon greenish color with a faint pink, and that's what makes Aglaonema super exciting and interesting to collect, is because some people will say that they look very similar. I will agree, some of them are very similar, but at the same time, they have so many varieties, little nuances that make them a little bit different. Now, this one is an Aglaonema I'm super excited about, and I'm hoping that this one shipped fairly well. This is the Aglaonema Widuri Red. So let's take a look, and oh my gosh, it looks like it did ship pretty well. I would say that this is probably one of the better Aglaonema that shipped. And look at how vibrant that red is. And I love the rounder, large leaf Aglaonema. Look at how beautiful that is. I'm super excited. It looks like it has a new growth point that's already unfurling. And I'm just hoping that this Aglaonema will acclimate for me. The good thing about these Aglaonema is once they actually acclimate and they start showing signs of growth, eventually they start to produce little baby pups, which you can separate. And, you know, people have asked me, am I willing to sell some Aglaonemas? I would say maybe down the line in the future, if I'm able to propagate some Aglaonemas, I would definitely do that. If I were to sell Aglaonemas like this, though, I would like to have a complete stock where I have several varieties to choose from. I would call that my Aglaonema the Grow Folds foliage collection, and you will see that obviously most of it's going to be Aglaonema. And you can see here plant foldies. This one is a prime example of one that pretty much shipped at its original state. There's probably one or two leaves I would peel away from this particular Aglaonema, but the root system is really good. And like I was letting my seller know, I prefer these Aglaonemas to be more on the drier side, because you don't run the risk of them getting like mushy or moldy. Again, it's not the best time to get Aglaonema from overseas, at least if you live in the North Dallas area, because the weather is going to be extremely hot. So there is always a chance that these plants could potentially overheat or melt. And so I have to repeat myself, because for those that really do see these beautiful plants, just know that these Aglaonema may not come in perfect condition. Sometimes it really depends on whether the stars align. And speaking of stars, have you ever heard of an Aglaonema that was actually named after a US president? This is called Aglaonema Obama. I don't know if it was really named after the US President Obama, but this is really what the Aglaonema is called. It's called Obama. And what I like about this particular Aglaonema is it's got green mixed with pink and peach variegation. And I love the stems as well. It's got a pastel color. It's got more of a larger leaf, but it's somewhat narrow as well. It's got very unique patterns. You can see that there's maybe one or two leaves that are starting to yellow and it will eventually die off. I may peel away for that, but I would say, considering that this is one of the more uncommon Aglaonema, it's actually pretty expensive to get an acclimated one in the US. Really excited for that. Now, as far as my Aglaonema haul, just know that it did take quite a bit of time for me to unbox these. Hopefully for my plant foldies, and for anybody that has just discovered my YouTube channel, like I said again, I appreciate the engagement. I appreciate you guys just hanging out with me as I unbox these videos, or at least unbox these plants. Hopefully this gives you a little bit better insight, better detail on what that looks like when somebody like a plant collector like myself receives plants from overseas. So you can see right over here, the root system is pretty good, and I did peel like one or two leaves off. I would say that this one I'm hoping will acclimate as well, because this is a pretty unique Aglaonema. You know, some people really wonder why I obsess about Aglaonema. I honestly can't really tell you. I would just say it's because of the colors that they come around. And you can see right here my fully unboxed Aglaonema. So this is my kitchen island and it's just full of Aglaonemas. When I actually unboxed this package, it was like midnight my time, and so it was really late. And so I will continue to show you the process of, after taking the sphagnum moss from the Aglaonema, what you do next in terms of cleaning and then rehydrating it with nutrient water. And then I'll give you my final thoughts about my Aglaonema plant haul. Again, if you made it this far into the video and you haven't pressed the thumbs up or like button for this video, please make sure you are doing that, because it does help push this content out to more plant lovers like yourself. But at this point, what would you guys do with all of these Aglaonemas? Leave that in the comment section below, because we're going to be moving on to the next step. So plant foldies, I will show you just a couple of the plants that I am actually cleaning up. So what I do is actually mix up a solution called my Foldy Mist, which is basically a pest preventative cleaner for my plants that I spray on all my plants. What I do is I'll get a conventional water bottle. So right now I'm actually using a Weed the Wild neem oil spray empty bottle. I will fill it up with 1 tablespoon of cold pressed organic neem oils that you can buy from Amazon. And then I also put 1 tablespoon of rubbing alcohol, either 70% strength or 90% strength, 1 tablespoon of hydrogen peroxide, fill it up with water and put 1 drop of dish soap, shake, 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 and I spray it. What I do is I'll spray the tops of the leaves of these plants, and then I will also spray the stems, the bottoms of the leaves, and definitely the roots. And what I'll do is I will actually let that solution sit for a good 5 minutes, just so that it'll dry on the leaves, and then eventually I will go back and just clean just the roots part, because I don't want like the hydrogen peroxide, rubbing alcohol, and neem oil to actually sit into the nutrient solution. So what I do is I carefully wash the roots and make sure that it's cleaned out. And you know, the reason why I like to do this is, again, if the plant suffered some of that browning, or some of the leaves died and then there might be some mushy stuff, it at least disinfects the plant to where that potential threat of it spreading onto the other leaves is mitigated. So you can see right here, this one is a beautiful Aglaonema and one of my favorite Aglaonemas from this haul. Let me know in the comments if you agree. This is my Aglaonema Silver Curly, because when you actually look at it in person, the camera does not do it justice. There is a metallic silver shine to it, and you can see that there's actually another baby that's popping out that I will eventually, hopefully that this plant will actually acclimate. I will eventually grow it out a little bit and separate it from the mother plant. But I'm just going to go ahead and just show you this process. Again, it is very important to do this process, or at least I would recommend it, just so you're giving a layer of protection on the leaves, the stems, and foliage. That way, if during the process of acclimation, your plants are protected from like spider mites, thrifts, and other types of plant pests that may want to attack these plants, because they are extremely stressed. So you can see right here, this is my Aglaonema Red Emerald. So it's lost quite a bit of leaves, but I'm hoping that this one will also make it through the acclimation period. This is an example of an Aglaonema that I'm probably going to let sit in water for a little bit until it establishes a little bit more roots before I put it in a soil substrate. Now, the other Aglaonema that's on the left is the Aglaonema Donna Carmen. That one will go into a soil substrate within about 72 hours, maybe a week, after just rehydrating the plants. But again, this is just a process of cleaning and disinfecting the plants with my Foldy Mist recipe. This is a really good go-to plant protection from pests, and it just gives it a natural shine too. So, you know, as far as like the presentation of the leaves, it's just stunning. Would you guys imagine that, again, these Aglaonema traveled more than 10,000 miles to get to me? I am still super impressed with Leafcrafter.ID. So I'm hoping you guys will follow Leafcrafter.ID on Instagram. And you know what? For the plant foldies that don't have Instagram, and if you want to send words of encouragement, positivity, please take the time to leave comments in the comments section for my seller, Leafcrafter.ID. I think that boost of confidence for his new business would really bring up his spirits, because he has been super kind to me. And the fact that people like him have made it accessible for me to grow my Aglaonema collection, I am just so grateful to him. I mean, because these plants are fairly healthy considering they traveled so far, and I'm hoping that all of my tips and just my plant care will increase their chances of actually acclimating in my plant collection. I would actually consider myself more of an Aglaonema collector slash grower versus somebody that just grows plants. I've really curated a lot of my plant collection to mostly Aglaonema, and I've really started to just downsize the rest of my plants, because this is really where my heart is. This is really where my interest is. This is where I would like to continue our campaign to hashtag popularize Aglaonema. So if you have Aglaonema, if you've received plants from overseas, post them on your social medias and use the hashtag popularize Aglaonema. So let's continue to clean these beautiful plants, and then we're going to get to the next step and just rehydrate them. There will be a separate video where I will be potting these Aglaonema up after they've rehydrated and de-stressed in terracotta planters using Classy Rabbit soil. Again, definitely check out classyrabbit.com and order your soil from that website. There is a new price. It's actually a lower price for classyrabbit.com. So definitely check that out. But you can see this particular Aglaonema, really good root system. Look at how extensive that root system is. And I cannot wait for these Aglaonema to start showing new growth points and new leaves to unfurl. So I'm gonna go ahead and clean up my sink. I love my sink, so I like to clean as I go because I really like to have a sterile environment whenever I'm working with my plants. So we're gonna go ahead and clean up the sink, and now we're going to be making my nutrient solution. So this is very important in terms of rehydrating, de-stressing your plant. So what you're seeing right here is my Super Thrive Protect silica solution that I can buy on Amazon. I'll take a gallon jug and mix up my solution, so it's super easy. I'll just use 1 tablespoon of this Super Thrive Protect neem oil, or not neem oil solution, Protect silica solution, and I will just put 1 tablespoon of that. You want to use silica because it really does fortify the plant cells. It really makes them more resilient and durable. So I'm going to go ahead and put that in there. And then once I do that, I'm going to go ahead and just put some more water. You don't want to mix up your solutions all at once. You want to have some water mixed into it first. And then the next nutrient solution I'm going to put is going to be just regular Super Thrive. So I have the large variety of Super Thrive. I feel like I get more value from it. Again, I bought it from Amazon, and some people don't really believe in Super Thrive, but I live by it because of that B vitamin that really helps rejuvenate plants. So if you ever have plants that are struggling, use Super Thrive. Some people say that it's kind of like snake oil. It doesn't really do much, but I've seen really good results with that. So this is that vitamin solution for the plant. It does have a very small amount of nitrogen, which will actually help push the plant to put out some new growth. But I will just use a capful, a little bit, go goes a long way, and I will just put that in the solution. And then what I'll do is fill up the gallon jug with more water, and that is my nutrient solution. I will continue to make that mixture as I fill up my plants in the glass jars that I'm going to let them hydrate. But that's how easy it is. Let me know in the comment section if you have any questions, but this is a critical thing. Some people will just use regular water, but I like to just give them a little bit more nutrients to really boost the chances of them acclimating and surviving. That I've got my nutrient solution, I will take all of my Aglaonema and put them in glass jars. That way I can see through and see what the roots look like. Here's the thing about rehydrating the plants. I would suggest putting nutrient solution and changing it maybe every other day. If you're able to change the water every day, that's even better. That way the water remains fresh. That way there's more oxygen, fresh oxygen for the roots to breathe. But this is a critical step in which you want to make sure that your plants are sitting in nutrient solution water. I've seen some content creators just pot up their plants straight from unboxing from overseas, but to me, that's a little bit risky considering the plants are super stressed and they're going to need just a little bit more tender love and joy and care. So I just feel like putting them in glass jars with nutrient solution and at least letting them sit there for a minimum of 72 hours is going to increase the chances and really de-shock them and de-stress them to whether you put them in a substrate such as soil or semi-hydroponics. I used to put a lot of my Aglaonema in semi-hydroponic substrates such as lechuza, pon, and leca, but I found that Classy Rabbit soil or a soil substrate is a better substrate for Aglaonema because they like to be more so on the drier side, and they tend to like to be more on the drier side. So I have switched back to mostly soil, although I will still put certain plants in semi-hydroponic substrates. But this is basically what I am doing. I will show you a couple of the Aglaonema that I am going to be putting nutrient solution in, but just know that if I were to do all of the Aglaonema in this plant haul, it would really extend the time of the video. So I'm just going to show you examples of some of them. Feel free to leave in the comment section your insights, thoughts, questions about this process. And like I said again, I hope that this is helpful for anybody that is going to delve into getting plants from overseas. If you are going to do that, I would highly recommend buying plants from Leafcrafter.ID on Instagram. You just have to send him a direct message. Again, he's very communicative, so you will always get a fast response from him. You will you can ask for certain plants, pictures, and videos, so you know exactly what the plant you're getting. It's not going to be like a grower's choice, where sometimes when you buy plants from an online seller, it's really the seller's choice versus the real picture or video of the plant. Can we all just get a like button press for this beautiful Aglaonema Deja Vu? This will be my third Aglaonema Deja Vu. Now, this particular Aglaonema is a little bit more finicky. You'll see that there are a couple of leaves that are yellowing, so I expect those leaves to eventually die off. But needless to say, still a beautiful plant. And as I do this, I hope that you guys have grown a little bit more fonder to Aglaonema. I know that a lot of plant foldies have gotten into Aglaonema because literally I've been talking about Aglaonema for the last year and a half, and I'm hoping that more and more people get excited for it. Feel free to leave in the comments which Aglaonema you like from this haul, and I'm just going to continue to fill these glasses of Aglaonema with my nutrient solution. So questions, comments, let me know in the comment section. Throughout this process, I would say it's super relaxing for me to do these types of relaxing, I would consider plant chores, where I am just filling up these glasses with nutrient solution. I'm really hoping that my Aglaonema will rehydrate, de-stress, and then I will actually have another relaxing plant chores video where I pot up the Aglaonema. And then if you are a YouTube membership tier, I will post updates of their growth as well. So hopefully you guys will consider joining the YouTube membership tier. Again, shout out to Super Plant Foldy David for gifting a lot of YouTube membership tiers to everybody. And then you can see right here, I am just going to show you the different types of Aglaonema that I got as they sit in this nutrient solution. You can see right here, this is one of my favorite ones. And you'll see that this one right here, while it does have some yellowing leaves, I'm not as concerned, because if I can get this plant to just acclimate, it will eventually push out some new growth. Let me know in the comments section what you think though. Like this Aglaonema Widuri red, what a beautiful red Aglaonema. Again, I hope you guys will support Leafcrafter.ID. Maybe consider getting plants from overseas. I would suggest though saving quite a bit of money so you could do a bulk order. If anything, I would not put in order unless you are considering at least getting 10 to 12 Aglaonema. It's going to make the shipping and the clearance fees worth your while. You can see right here, this one right here is an Aglaonema that I didn't feature. This one is going to need to be a little bit more rehab, so it's going to have to sit in water a little bit longer. And then you'll see right over here, this is one of my jumbo Aglaonema. You'll notice that there are many different types of leaf shapes and forms, variegation, and this is the reason why, again, Plant Foldies, can I get a comment that says hashtag popularize Aglaonema? And then shout out to anybody that has actually added an Aglaonema to your collection. I know the typical Aglaonema we'll see is an Aglaonema Red Siam or Aglaonema Silver Bay, but if you are feeling a little bit adventurous, I don't know, Plant Foldies, based on this video, maybe I can convince you to try to get some plants from overseas, specifically to my friend Leafcrafter.ID. I am super satisfied with these plants. Really love the communication as well. And to sum up my tips again for getting plants from overseas, make sure you vet out the actual seller. Make sure the seller has been somebody that either was recommended from a friend that has already had a previous experience. Look at the reviews. Whenever you're looking for payment, make sure that it is through a third-party payment system such as PayPal. Never ever give banking information to somebody online, because that is one way to get yourself scammed. And make sure that you have a seller that is willing to send you pictures of the plants, is able to communicate with you frequently. And I think that's basically it. I would also recommend getting plants through a broker. So if your seller from overseas has a brokerage or somebody that can actually import the plants on your behalf, that is the better option. And then in terms of just what you need to do with plants, you know, these Aglaonema, you definitely need to make sure you're carefully unboxing them. Have realistic expectations. They're not going to come in perfectly, but after cleaning these Aglaonema up, getting rid of some of the dead leaves, and now putting them in their nutrient solution, I really do believe that they have a much higher chance of survival. Now, granted, it's still not guaranteed, and that's the reason why I've repeated myself a lot over this video, because I really want people to understand that it's not always the seller to blame. It's not you to blame if these plants don't make it and they want to go to plant heaven. It's literally circumstance. Some plants just don't have the wherewithal to survive all of the stress that they're put into when they are being flown in from overseas because of the rigorous pest control that they have. They are getting uplifted from like a soil substrate, really ideal growing environment, etc., etc. So hopefully that sheds a little bit more light. And you know, as far as the Plant Foldies that have tuned in today, let me know in the comments section with a timestamp which are your favorite Aglaonemas. Know that I'm also getting another Aglaonema shipment sometime in July through my friend. You know, we actually did a major order. So we combined our shipping together, which is another way to save money. If you are looking to get plants from overseas, maybe you can have a whole community of plant foldies that want to split the cost and then just put it all into one package. That is another way to save money. But again, in terms of these Aglaonema, I'm really excited that I got a lot of variety of Aglaonema. For the most part, I do believe that they came in the way that they were shown to me in the initial videos of my seller. Granted, some of them got a little bit leggy, and that is normal, but I will definitely give you guys insights on the plant growth updates and things of that nature. Most of that, though, will have to be on my YouTube membership tier. To be really transparent, it's because I do want to have a sustainable passive income that happens with all of the effort I put into my YouTube channel. Clearly, a lot of my big box or plant shopping videos are always going to be available, but some of the more intimate, more personalized plant content is going to be on the Super Plant Foldy tier. So stay tuned for that. This one right here, oh my gosh, this is such a beautiful Aglaonema, and I know that there is another plant foldy that loves Aglaonema. His name is Eric, and this is going to be his favorite video shot where I literally pan over the entire plant haul. Can you believe or count how many Aglaonema that I received today? Please leave in the comment section if you've kept count on how many plants I received from Leafcrafter.ID. Again, I hope you will follow Leafcrafter.ID. Post on his, leave a comment in his comments for his Instagram post. Let him know you are a plant foldy. Let him know that Richie brought you to his Instagram page, because I definitely want to promote his business because he has treated me with so much kindness. And lo and behold, you can see that this is the fruits of his labor in terms of getting me these Aglaonema. These videos, while they may not be as popular as some of the big box or plant shopping videos that I do, for anybody that gives me the time of day, that gives me the engagement or attention or interest, I want to say again, thank you for staying alongside with me till the very end of this video, so you can see my love for Aglaonema, my passion to educate this plant community, because some people may have never thought about getting plants from overseas, but when you actually delve into something like that, be a little bit more adventurous. I always say you only live once. Definitely try it, or at least consider it. It may not always pan out the way you want it to be, but life is full of risk, but sometimes that risk will really turn into something very enjoyable and beautiful like this. If anything, right now I am just on cloud 9, considering this was about a month-long process to get all of these plants sent to me, but I really enjoyed the conversations I've had with my friend at Leafcrafter.ID. He really has given me a lot of insights with the Indonesian plant market, and hopefully some of you guys will connect with him as well. I really got these plants for a very cost-effective plant price. My suggestion is, again, save your money in terms of doing a bulk order. I would also look for other people that are in your neighborhood or within your city, so that way you can just put in one big order. That way you can save money on the shipping. But you can see right here, this is my Aglaonema plant haul, and thanks to anybody who has dubbed me as the Aglaonema king. I would just say I have an Aglaonema plant addiction, and I am owning it. It is okay as long as I'm not hurting anybody. And as far as the finances, I have treated myself. I made sure to save money for this haul. I work extremely hard, and the way I justify it is, as long as I am able to upkeep these plants, if these plants are able to bring me some type of mental wellness and joy, then it is definitely worth the monetary value. And again, for all the plant foldies that continue to send me a monetary tip in the form of a super sticker, a super thanks, or join my YouTube membership tier, I thank you again. It is because of you that has been able for me to actually make orders like this and actually show you what the process is, again, on what to do with plants that you receive from overseas. So let's just keep looking at the final shots of this and let me know what you think. to wrap up this video. I do ask the plant foldies for anybody that is considering getting plants from overseas. Definitely follow my friend at Leafcrafter.ID on Instagram. Consider getting some plants from him and sharing this video on any of your socials for anybody that might be curious about getting plants from overseas, because not only does he sell plants like Aglaonema, there are so many others. As always, my name is Richie at Growfold. If you haven't already, please subscribe to my YouTube channel and definitely check out the other videos that are about to pop up on my end screen. They're going to show up on the very left hand side of this video. I'll see you on the next one. Bye.